Hi guys, I'm Clay Ballard and welcome back to Top Speed Tennis and your Topspin Forehand series. And in this series, we got an awesome video for you. We're going to talk about where the pros get a lot of their speed and a lot of their topspin, and that's that wrist lag and snap motion through contact. It's really going to help you to increase your speed and your topspin, and I can't wait to share it with you. Now, for those of you joining us on YouTube, be sure to stick around at the end. I got some great bonuses for you. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the technique. Now, there's three basic motions in the lag and snap wrist action we're talking about through contact. It's also commonly referred to windshield wiper. I'm going to go over how it's a little bit different than the traditional idea of windshield wiper and some of the common mistakes you can make when trying to do the windshield wiper move. So let's go ahead and pretend here, if we're going to the opposite side of the court, this is 12 o'clock. Let's imagine a clock face here. 12, 3, 6 would be right back at the camera, and 9 o'clock over here. So we talked about as we're loading up for this forehand, how we need to go ahead and make this L-type motion with our arms. And then the racket needs to be pointed out at basically a 45-degree angle. So the racket's going to be at a 45, and the tip of the racket from the butt end will be pointing right over toward 3 o'clock. That's the first motion that we want to get into. So as we're loading up, the racket tip is going to be pointing out toward 3 o'clock and at about a 45-degree angle. Now the second move is where really the magic starts to happen, and that's the loading of the forearms, and this is called a stretch shortening cycle. So anytime you're going to have a lot of power and fire your muscles with good speed and good power, we need to first stretch those muscles and then fire them. So what's going to happen here from this first move, we're now going to make a motion which would be very similar to turning a doorknob to the right with your wrist. So as we're doing the first motion, first piece here, rackets out to the right. Now as I'm coming back, I want to go ahead and turn my hand to the right as though it's a doorknob. And I'm going to do this until the tip of my racket now, instead of pointing at 3 o'clock, is all the way back to about 7:30. Now don't mistake this with your hand being pointing back towards 7:30. So I don't want my arm to get all the way back here towards 7:30. I want my hand to stay in front. It's my wrist and the angle of the racket that's going to be pointing back toward about 7:30. Now that's stretching out these muscles of the forearms and making it where they're more powerful, and now as they snap back, we can get a lot more speed into it. So that's motion number two. Motion number one, racket at a 45, pointing toward 3 o'clock. Motion number two, my arm stays in front, but now my wrist is going to turn out until that racket's pointing back to about 7:30. And then as we come through, now we're going to go ahead and turn the doorknob the other way. So we turn it to the right, now we're going to turn it back to the left, and that's what's going to get that snapping motion through the contact area. So again, if you're looking from face on, I'll go this way. Here's move number one, move number two, and then I'm going to go ahead and let it snap all the way on around for my final move. So let's go ahead and take a look at Roger Federer doing this exact motion. Okay, so we can see here as he's loading up, racket is pointing out to the right toward 3 o'clock, just like we were talking about, getting that general L-type shape. And then as he's dropping it in, now the racket's going to come in, hand staying in front of the body, but the racket's dropping into where it's pointing at about 7 or 7:30. Sometimes even 8 o'clock if you want to get a lot of wrist snap into that. And then finally, he's coming up toward contact and his hand is turning on over the other way. So he's turning the doorknob to the right and then turning the doorknob back to the left, creating that massive amount of snap and really creating a lot of speed and a lot of topspin. Okay, so now that we've gone over the general principles, let me talk about two things that I want you to be aware of that makes this a little bit different than the traditional windshield wiper technique and that you want to make sure that you avoid. Now, number one, with the windshield wiper technique, a lot of times people think of this as a strictly up and down motion. So as the racket's coming forward, it's going to be moving up and down this way. Now, we talked about in video one how the racket actually needs to be moving at a 45 as we're coming through contact. So be sure that you're not trying to go straight up and down. What happens if I'm going straight up and down, now my strings are just going to slide across this ball, and I may be able to hit it with a little bit of topspin, but it's not going to have any force behind it at all. You see how high and soft that was? It didn't really have much on it. I want to make sure that that ball penetrates into the other side of the court and really has some more speed on that. So we want to make sure we get more of a 45-degree angle. That way, we're not only getting topspin, we're getting a little bit more of a penetrating shot. Even that was kind of dinky there. So the second thing, that's the first thing. Make sure that it's more at a 45 rather than vertical, which is what you think of naturally when you're envisioning a windshield wiper. Now the second thing is as we're coming through contact, we want to make sure that we're hitting this ball where the racket is moving vertically, just like this. So the racket head is moving up and down when it's contacting the tennis ball. That way, as this ball starts to spin, it's getting just topspin on it. A lot of times when I see people try the windshield wiper technique, their wrist is going this way and they're making contact here somewhere where now the strings are going at a 45 and that ball starts spinning sideways and it's not going to dive down into the court. So that looks something like this, where I'm wiping across the ball. You can hit all kinds of crazy shots that are very inconsistent doing that. I mean, it doesn't get a lot of topspin on it, and a lot of times it's just not going to do much of anything. It's just going to kind of float to the right as you're doing that. Make sure as you're coming through, you're getting this top spin and the racket is moving vertically as you're coming through the strike zone. There we go, and we can see that that ball dove straight down into the court. That's a good thing to keep an eye on. Now let's go ahead and walk through a series of progressions to get used to this, and so we can start to take this into our game. I recommend you take it slow, get your reps in before you take it out there to the court and take it into a match. All right, so as you know, with top speed tennis, we always do some kind of progression. We start out slow with very simple pieces and then we build upon that. So we're going to start out by losing the racket, losing the tennis balls. We're just going to do the motion with our hands, get very comfortable, and then we'll add those pieces back in there. So let's go ahead and start out with making this L-type shape. And we're going to pretend that my fingers, my fingertips, are representing the racket face. As I'm coming back, now my racket is pointing out to the right, 3 o'clock. It's up at about a 45-degree angle like we went over. And as I'm extending this down, now my hand is going to turn inward until my fingertips are pointing down and back at about 7:30 or maybe even 8 o'clock if I really want to get that to lag. And then as I'm coming through here, I want to make sure that my hand is straight up and down, or that the strings would be straight up and down as I'm getting contact with the ball. That way we're getting topspin on this. If I do this type of motion, now my hand's at a 45, I'm going to be kind of wiping across the ball, and I'm going to get that side spin that we don't want to do. We can get all kinds of crazy shots with that. So we're going back, fingers up, letting them turn in, making contact right here with the strings up and down, and then coming on through to a good full finish. Once you've done about 100 of these, gotten very comfortable with it, let's go ahead and add the racket and do the exact same thing. We're going to pause in these 3 positions again. Position number 1, racket out. 2, racket drops in. Make sure that hand's staying in front of your body. I don't want my hand to drop back in here. That's going to get really difficult to time that forward momentum. Racket, position number 2, position number 3. My strings are up and down to where now, as I'm making contact, it's going to be just top spin. And then if you've done this, go ahead and come on through to a good full finish. Get very, very comfortable with that, and then make it into one fluid motion. I'm going to come back, and I'm letting that racket snap. I should be feeling, right as I'm coming through contact, that my racket is snapping and I'm getting that 45-degree upward angle. Now, once you're comfortable with that, let's go ahead and try to hit a couple shots doing this. Just nice and easy, tossing the ball. You don't need to take it out to a tournament or a match play or anything like that yet. You're just gonna go ahead and practice this on your own. Got that one a little low. There we go, that got a little bit more top spin on it. Not trying to really do anything special with these. You're just making sure that you're getting used to that motion, getting that hand to turn back in and then create that top spin. So they're not going to be really pretty at first. You don't have to do anything fancy. You're not trying to hit them 100 miles an hour. You're just getting really comfortable with that stroke, and then you can build upon that to where you can go out in a match or playing a partner, and you're going to be comfortable enough with it to be able to take it to the when it matters in a tournament and it still hold up. So good luck to you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all very soon. Now, for those of you who join us on YouTube, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did like this video, be sure to click the like button down below. That helps us out, helps me to grow this channel and to bring you guys some more free videos. If you have any questions on anything we covered in this video, be sure to post your comment below and I'll answer that personally. And I have a great bonus for you guys. This is one video out of a series of videos on how to create more topspin. A whole progression. We go over racket setup, we go over grip, we go over all the technique. And I'm going to play a preview from another video in this series. If you want to watch that entire video plus the entire series absolutely free, it's never going to cost you anything, just click the link that pops up on your screen or down below in the description. That's going to take you to a place where you can put in your email and we'll send the whole thing to you free of charge. So I really look forward to working with you guys much more in the future. Good luck with that topspin, and I'll see you soon. Hi guys, I'm Clay Ballard and welcome back to Top Speed Tennis and the Topspin Forehand series. Hopefully you guys have watched a couple of the first videos. We talked about what creates topspin, what's the perfect grip, and what's the perfect racket setup. But now today we're gonna get to the real fun stuff, in my opinion. We're gonna start talking about technique and how you can use this right arm to not only create more speed, but to do it by using physics instead of power, and also how you can use this right arm with the exact same motion to get more topspin. Be sure to stick around to the end. I have some great drills for you guys. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so as I mentioned, we want to use this right arm in the correct way to create some speed. We'll go over speed first, then we'll talk about the topspin. But if you can imagine my right shoulder here as being a pivot point, and my right arm is going to swing on this pivot. I have a full 360 degrees range of motion, or roughly 360. And as I let my arm swing, I'm just going to let it swing with gravity here, and you'll see that my fingertips are actually moving with some pretty good speed without very much muscular effort. And that's because I have a pretty long lever here. My right arm is extended and creating a long lever. Now if I bend my right arm and shorten this lever, and my hand is much closer to my pivot point here, my shoulder, now as I let that swing, my hand is going to be moving much slower. As I let that extend out, it's going to move much faster. And that's what we want to do in the forehand also, is create a longer lever